If someone ever told me that at age 77, I will spend 2 months in a nursing home, I might have laughed. I never thought I would go there, at least not now. But life has a way of teaching us lessons when we least expect it. I walked in there, thinking this is only temporary, just a short period of recovery, then I will return to normal life. But those 2 months have been changed me forever. I started seeing things that I didn't see before, never noticed, about old age, about regret, about life. There are lessons that hurt me. There are lessons that help me wake up. But all are necessary. I met people who had been there for many years. Some people are lucky enough to have their family visit. Some people have been forgotten for a long time. Some people live in peace. There are people living inside regret. According to a study from Pew Research Center, 40% of elderly people in nursing homes do not have regular visitors. They are not seriously ill, but forgotten. And as I sat listening to their stories, spending long nights contemplating, I realized 7 lessons that I believe everyone needs to know, whether you are young or old. Because even though you're young today, one day, you will also get old. And when that day comes, what kind of life do you want to live? 1. The most dangerous disease of old age is not physical, but loneliness. People often think that a nursing home is a place of health care, where there is food, a place to sleep, and a doctor on duty. But I was there for 2 months and I realized that the scariest thing was not the illness, but the loneliness. I've met people who haven't had anyone visit them for months, even years. They sit by the window, looking out, waiting for a call, a letter, for someone they know to drop by. But nothing. Their children are busy with their own lives. Their friends are no more. Loved ones have passed away, one by one. According to the National Institute on Aging, loneliness in the elderly not only causes depression, but also increases the risk of premature death by up to 26%. Another study from Harvard Medical School found that loneliness has the same health impact as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Yet we rarely think about it. Inside the walls of nursing homes, I saw people who were not living, but slowly dying. Not because of illness, but because they feel they have been forgotten. I remember an 82-year-old man who had been a math teacher all his life. He told me that, in the past, he used to be the person everyone came to for advice. Students love him. Colleagues respect him. He has family, friends, and a busy life. But now, he is left with only a small room with a single bed, a tiny dining table, and silence that covers day and night. Every day I wake up and wonder, he said, will anyone remember me today? And most of the time, no one remembers him. Here, I have seen people living in peace, but there are also people living in regret. I met a 90-year-old woman who used to be a successful businessman. She has 3 children, all successful, living in big cities. When I asked her, "Do your children often visit?" she laughed and said, "They're very busy. They send flowers on birthdays and stop by once or twice a year." She didn't cry when she said that, but I felt sadness in her eyes. I realized that old age is not scary, but being forgotten is. If I could go back in time, I would spend less time chasing money and more time building meaningful relationships. Because in the end, the only things that truly matter are the people who are still with you. 2. Health is more precious than everything in life. I used to think that success was having a prosperous life, having enough money to do what you want. But after 2 months in the nursing home, I realized that money cannot buy health, and without health, money means nothing. I met a man who was a successful businessman. He owns many properties, travels around the world, and lives a luxurious life. But now, he cannot eat without help and cannot walk without a wheelchair. Every morning, he had to wait for medical staff to help him sit up. Every meal, he had to ask someone else to feed him each spoonful of food. All his assets, houses, luxury cars, money, cannot help him walk on his own 2 feet. According to the Mayo Clinic, seniors who lead a sedentary lifestyle have a 40% higher risk of cardiovascular disease and an average life expectancy of 5 to 10 years lower than those who maintain physical activity. He told me, "I spent my whole life making money, but I forgot one thing. I can't buy back youth. I can't buy back health." I recall another woman, 85 years old but still able to walk, still able to take care of herself. When I asked her secret, she just laughed. "Nothing special. I just walk every day, eat well, and keep my mind busy." Turns out, there's no secret at all. We always think, later I'll exercise, later I'll eat healthier, but by the time we realize there's no more later, it's too late. I realized that if I could go back in time, I would exercise more, eat healthier, and worry less. Because in the end, money doesn't matter if you can't enjoy it. 3. The things you spend your life to accumulate will be meaningful. I used to have a large house, full of furniture. The wardrobe is filled with suits and dresses that have only been worn a few times. The bookshelf is full of books I bought but haven't read yet. The living room is filled with all kinds of decorations that I used to like. During those years, I thought that the more I had, the happier I was. But now, I live in a small room with few necessary items. And you know what? I don't remember the things I left behind. According to research from the University of California, people often spend most of their lives accumulating material things, but when they get old, 90% of the things they once owned are no longer meaningful. We spend our whole lives shopping, collecting, and filling up on things that we think will make life more fulfilling. But in the end, they are just items lying in an empty house. I once met a man in a nursing home who used to be the director of a large company and owned 3 houses and 2 expensive cars. But when I asked, "What do you miss the most?" he did not talk about those assets. He just sighed and said, "A family dinner." Turns out, what remains are not the things we buy, but the moments we live. I met an old lady who had a jewelry collection that anyone could wish for. But when she entered the nursing home, she only brought with her a necklace that her husband gave her on their 50th wedding anniversary. "I don't need anything now," she said. "The only thing I want is a sincere conversation, a hug from my children and grandchildren." I realized that what we really need is not more, but deeper. We don't need more furniture, we need more beautiful memories. We don't need many things to own, but we need many moments to remember. If I could go back, I would buy less and experience more. I will not chase after the latest gadgets, but will take time to walk with my wife, listen to my children tell stories, and enjoy the small moments that I used to miss. Because in the end, the only things that truly matter are the people who are still with you. For independence is a precious thing, but we only realize it when we have lost it. Have you ever thought about that feeling when you want to do something, but can't do it yourself? Unable to dress self. Unable to go to the toilet on his own. Unable to eat a meal by yourself. I have seen many people in nursing homes fall into that situation. And not only do they lose the ability to take care of themselves, but they also lose their self-esteem. According to research from Harvard Medical School, when a person loses independence, they are 50% more likely to suffer from depression, and the average life expectancy decreases by 5 to 7 years. I once met a man who was an athlete. He could run marathons, he could climb mountains, he could do anything he wanted. But now, he cannot lift his arms to comb his hair. Every day, he had to wait for someone to push his wheelchair, wait for someone to help him get dressed, wait for someone to give him spoonfuls of food. I saw in his eyes helplessness, heartache, and regret. "If only I knew how to appreciate my health more," he said. That statement haunted me. Because how many of us take our independence for granted? We wake up every morning, get out of bed, go to the kitchen to make a cup of coffee, drive to work, without even realizing that it is a gift. We never think of the day when those small things become impossible. If you can still freely move, freely decide, and freely live the way you want, then cherish that right now. Because once you lose your independence, you will understand that it is one of life's most precious gifts. 5. Happiness comes from simple things. There is an 85-year-old lady here, always smiling. No matter the weather, no matter what happened, she always had a smile on her face. One day, I asked her, "What is your secret?" She looked at me, then gently said, "I don't think about what I've lost. I enjoy what I still have." That statement changed the way I viewed happiness. We spend so much time worrying about what we don't have that we forget that happiness is always right in front of us. According to research from Yale University, people who practice gratitude every day have a 23% higher level of life satisfaction and have an average lifespan of 5 years longer than those who dwell on the things they have lost. I remember when I was young, I used to think that happiness was achieving something big, a beautiful house, a luxury car, a successful career. But here, in the nursing home, I realized that happiness comes from the smallest things. It was a sincere conversation. It's a hot cup of tea in the morning. It's the feeling of the sun shining on your face when you sit on your porch. One day, I saw an old lady sitting by the window, closing her eyes and smiling. I asked her what she was doing. She said, "I'm enjoying the sunshine." I realized that happiness is not something we have to find. It's always right here, right now. It's just a matter of whether we stop to feel it or not. 6. Forgive not for others, but for yourself. During my 2 months living in a nursing home, I met many people who carried lifelong resentments. Some people are angry with their children because they don't care for them like they want. Someone blames an old friend for something that happened decades ago. Some people still cannot forgive their parents, even though they are no longer alive. They keep anger inside, as if it were an inseparable part of who they are. But the sad thing is that resentment doesn't hurt others. It only eats away at the person holding it. According to a study by Johns Hopkins Medicine, people who hold grudges for a long time have a 20% higher risk of high blood pressure and a 30% higher risk of heart disease than people who forgive. I remember an 83-year-old woman. Her hands trembled as she held a cup of tea. One afternoon, she told me in a choked voice, "I wish I had forgiven my sister before she passed away. But now, it's too late." Those words haunted me for many days afterward. She said that the two sisters used to be very close, but a small conflict caused them to not talk to each other for more than 30 years. Then one day, she received news that her sister had passed away. She no longer had the chance to say, "I'm sorry." There is no longer a chance to say, "I miss you." There is no more opportunity to say, "I wish we hadn't let that happen." Now, every day she thinks about it. But time cannot be turned back anymore. I realize that letting go is not because others deserve it, but because I deserve peace myself. No one wants to carry anger for the rest of their lives. Because when you look back, the only thing that remains is not who was right or who was wrong, but how much time you lost because of things that could have been forgiven long ago. 7. Every day is a gift. Don't waste it. One morning, I woke up to hear that a friend in a nursing home had just passed away in his sleep. The night before, he was still having dinner, telling stories about his childhood, laughing with everyone. But this morning, he was no more. I suddenly realized that life is more fragile than we think. According to research from Yale University, more than 80% of older people say they regret not enjoying life when they were young. We spend too much time worrying about unnecessary things, forgetting that every day is a gift. We get angry over small things. We postpone the things we want to do. We think that one day we will live, but that day never comes. I recall an old man I met here who used to be a musician. All his life he dreamed of performing on a big stage, but always thought he had a lot of time. One day, I will. Wait until I'm qualified, I'll do it. But he never did. Now, he no longer has the strength to play the piano anymore. His hands trembled, his voice weakened, his dream remained there, never realized. I once asked him, if you could go back, what would you do differently? He smiled, but his eyes were full of regret. I won't wait anymore. That answer haunted me. We always think we have time. But the reality is, no one knows what tomorrow will bring. There is a 90-year-old woman here who has had a close friend for 50 years. They used to do everything together, but then life took them in different directions. Years later, she received news that her friend had passed away. She told me, I probably wouldn't have regretted it so much if I just picked up the phone and called her sooner. We always think that we will have time to make peace, to say words of love, to live more fully. But by the time I realized that, it was too late. Life doesn't wait for anyone. So, don't wait. Live today. Let's love today. Appreciate your loved ones today. Because in the end, what you regret is not what you did, but the moments you let slip by. After 2 months in a nursing home, I realized that life is not measured by the years we exist, but by how we live each moment. I have seen people who lived to be 90 years old but were never truly happy. I have also met people who left this world earlier, but they lived each day to the fullest. We all think we have time. We think that one day we will slow down, love more, forgive more easily, and dare to do what we really want. But the reality is, no one knows what tomorrow will bring. I've seen people carry resentment all their lives, only to realize they've wasted so many years harboring anger. I've seen people who once owned a lot of things, only to eventually realize that they couldn't take anything with them but their memories. I've seen people miss too many opportunities to say they love them, only to regret it when it's too late. So, don't wait. Don't wait until you lose your health to start appreciating your body. Don't wait until you lose someone to realize how important they are to you. Don't wait until time runs out and then realize you've lived a life full of regrets. Because happiness doesn't lie in the past or the future. It lies right in what you have, right now. Live. Be loving. Be respectful. Right now. If you're thinking about someone you haven't heard from in a while, call them. If you are holding on to some anger, let it go. If there's something you've always wanted to do, start today. Because one day, you will look back and realize that you don't regret what you did, but only what you let go. Have you ever experienced a moment when you realized what is truly important in life? Please share your story in the comments section. If you agree that every day is a gift, leave a comment. I choose to live life to the fullest. Please share this story with the people you love, because maybe someone out there needs to hear these words right now. If you find this video meaningful, don't forget to click like so more people can see it too. And if you want to continue to receive meaningful stories about life, love and aging, click subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. Every day, we will bring you profound lessons so you can live a life without regrets.